So the High Court of Justice is reconvening now to discuss the various petitions against the tentative unity government. And joining us to discuss the political and constitutional implications of these meetings is founder and president of the Jerusalem Washington Center, Gideon Israel. Thank you for joining us. Now, right now, the hearings are talking about the 3-year coalition deal signed by the Blue and White and the Likud parties. But Chief Justice Esther Hayut has raised some serious concerns, particularly because of the deal requires changes to several basic laws. Can you discuss these concerns?
Sure. There's the basic law of the Knesset that explains how the Knesset works, the structure of the Knesset, and so forth. So a few problems are the fact that you have, instead of one prime minister, you're going to have two prime ministers simultaneously, meaning that once Netanyahu resigns, or once he stops being prime minister, Benny Gantz automatically becomes prime minister, as opposed to in the past when you had rotation agreements, you had one of the candidates finish being prime minister, and then the second one was voted in by the Knesset. Here, that automatically happens, which is a change to the Knesset law. Also, instead of a 4-year government, it's going to be a 3-year government. So that's another change.
All right. Well, now the judges have criticized the way in which the coronavirus crisis actually has been exploited, so to speak, to change the system of government in Israel and to appoint officials as well. So what roles are yet to be filled and require immediate appointment?
Well, some of them are the person who's going to be the head of the police force, the mafkal of the chief of police. Another one is who's going to be the head attorney for the state of Israel. And in both of those cases, the idea was that the idea is who's gonna pick. Is it going to be Gantz's person, or is it going to be Netanyahu's person? So they said, all right, let's have a government for 6 months, and then we'll discuss this after 6 months, after the corona crisis is over. So so that was the idea. Instead of arguing now who's going to decide and who's going to have veto power, they said let's just push it off for another 6 months.
I see. So does that mean that we're just not going to have those positions filled?
Very, very, very possibly. I think we've already been going on. We've at least been maybe a half a year, if not more, without a chief of police. In terms of the state attorney, that there is someone who's fulfilling that role, Dan Eldad. He's been fulfilling that role for 3 months, and the question is whether his tenure will be renewed again. That's right now. There's a dispute right now between the justice minister and between the legal advisor to the prime minister. I think another thing about the corona crisis was that no law would be discussed in the Knesset except having to do with corona. And the judges said, well, what do you mean? That's the job of the Knesset to discuss laws. Why is it that nothing can be done? Nothing, even small things, can be done until the corona crisis is over. And for that, the attorneys for the prime minister for the coalition said, what we mean is that things that have to do with corona will take precedence over other things, but it doesn't mean that no law can be passed until the corona is over.
All right. Well, speaking of the hearings and kind of the power of the courts, really quick. Right now, after the hearing so far, the right has been criticizing the courts for getting too involved in political issues. What do you think on that?
Well, the right has been criticizing the High Court for many years for involving themselves on so many issues where the Knesset has passed laws, specifically so many laws on immigration, where the court has canceled those laws. I think Justice Antonin Scalia once said that he reads court decisions of the Israeli High Court just so he can feel that America hasn't gone crazy in its judicial activism. So the right feels that there's been so much judicial activism for years, and the activism is always on the side of the left wing. So, and therefore, in this case, where the law says that a prime minister, until his trial is over and until his verdict is final, he can be prime minister. So there's no room to even judge on whether he can.
So it looks like we may have a government then. It sounds like they're going to be siding with the right and against these petitions, but we'll have more on that soon. Gideon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.